Ladies and gentlemen, let's get something straight right from the top. The so-called American dream isn't a dream at all. It's a bedtime story for adults. It's the lullaby they sing to you so you'll keep quiet, go to work, pay your bills, and never ask who's really pulling the strings. You've been told since you were a kid that this is the land of opportunity, that if you study hard, work hard, and keep your nose clean, you'll end up with the house, the car, the picket fence, and the happily ever after. But what they don't tell you is that the deck is stacked, the dice are loaded, and the house always wins. The dream is dangled in front of you like a carrot, and while you're busy chasing it, the people holding the stick are picking your pocket. They don't want you awake, they want you distracted, shopping, scrolling, screaming at football games, anything but noticing the chains around your ankles. The cruel genius of the dream is that it makes you blame yourself when you fail. You didn't run fast enough, you didn't work hard enough, you didn't hustle enough. No one ever admits the truth. The dream was never meant for you to catch. The illusion of freedom is one of the greatest tricks ever pulled on people because it gives them the confidence to believe they're in control when, in reality, almost every aspect of their life is already mapped out for them. From the time you're born, the story is written. You're told that you live in the land of the free, that you can be whoever you want, achieve whatever you dream, and rise as high as your ambition will take you. It sounds beautiful, poetic, almost like a fairy tale, but dig a little deeper and you see the bars of the cage. They're painted red, white, and blue, but they're still bars. Real freedom isn't just about slogans or flags, it's about choices. Yet when you look at the choices offered, most of them are manufactured, predetermined, and limited to what the system allows. You're free to vote, but you're voting between candidates already approved and paid for by the same wealthy donors. You're free to speak, but try saying something that challenges the powerful and watch how fast you're silenced, ignored, or punished. They tell you education is the key to freedom, but the education system is designed to make you obedient, not independent. From grade school onward, you're trained to sit in rows, raise your hand for permission, memorize facts, pass standardized tests, and then move on to the next stage like a factory product rolling down the assembly line. The illusion is that you're learning how to think, but in reality, you're learning how to follow instructions, take orders, and respect authority without question. That's not freedom, that's programming. By the time you graduate, you're already set up to believe that the only path is to take on massive debt for college, work a job you probably won't love, and spend decades paying back loans that were supposed to buy your future. That's not opportunity, it's a trap dressed up in patriotic colors. Then there's the workplace. They tell you that you're free to choose your career, to climb the ladder, to chase the dream, but in reality, most people are chained to jobs that barely cover their rent, their food, and maybe a small vacation once every few years. Freedom isn't having to beg for sick days or worry about losing health insurance if you lose your job. Freedom isn't watching your paycheck disappear into taxes and bills while billion-dollar corporations dodge accountability. They dangle the idea of success in front of you like a carrot, but for most, it's just enough to keep you walking in circles on the wheel. Even entertainment is part of this illusion. They keep you distracted with sports, television, gadgets, and gossip, so you never stop to think about how little control you really have. You can binge watch an entire season of a show, but can you afford to miss a week of work without risking your livelihood? That's not freedom, that's conditioning. They feed you slogans like land of the free while reminding you to follow the rules, stay in line, don't rock the boat, and keep believing that your vote, your job, and your hard work are enough to make you free. And yet, most people cling to the illusion because it's easier to believe the story than to face the truth. It feels better to wave a flag, sing an anthem, and pretend that everything is fair, even when deep down you know it's not. That's the genius of the scam, convincing people that they're free while keeping them locked in systems that limit their choices at every turn. It's not chains you can see, it's chains you can't admit exist, and that's why they work so well. The system is rigged, and that's the truth most people don't want to face because it destroys the comfortable lie they've been fed all their lives. You're told from the beginning that life is a fair game, that if you put in the work, play by the rules, and stay determined, you'll get your shot at the top. But the reality is the people at the top made those rules, and they made sure the rules are tilted in their favor. Imagine a card game where the dealer owns the casino, writes the rule book, and knows every card in your hand before you even play. That's what society looks like. You think you're competing, but you're already playing a game you were never meant to win. The so-called opportunities that get advertised are more like bait on a hook. They tell you that everyone has a chance, but the starting lines aren't even close to equal. Some kids are born into wealth, privilege, and connections, while others are born into poverty and struggle. One child is raised with private tutors, college funds, and family business connections waiting for them. Another child grows up in neighborhoods with underfunded schools, broken infrastructure, and parents working multiple jobs just to survive. Yet the system has the nerve to say both children have the same shot at success. That's not equality, that's a cruel joke disguised as motivation. The ladder of success isn't standing straight for everyone. For some, it's nailed down securely with people holding it steady. For others, it's missing rungs, greased with oil, and leaning against a collapsing wall. wall. Even when people do manage to climb that ladder, the system knows how to keep them in their place. You can get a promotion, maybe even a taste of comfort, but there's always someone above you pulling strings. You work hard, you save money, you try to invest, and suddenly the market crashes. Funny how the wealthy always seem to come out fine while the working class is left picking up the pieces. Banks get bailed out, corporations get tax breaks, and ordinary people lose their homes. That's not an accident, that's design. The rules bend for those who wrote them and break the backs of those forced to follow them. The government is part of the rigging too. Laws are passed not for the people, but for the corporations that fund campaigns. Politicians don't represent the working class, they represent the donors who pay for their seats at the table. You might think you're voting for change, but the real decisions are made in boardrooms, not ballot boxes. That's why policies that actually benefit the majority rarely see the light of day, while tax cuts for billionaires and subsidies for giant corporations slide through with ease. The system isn't broken, it's functioning exactly the way it was built, to protect those who already have power and wealth. Even the idea of justice is rigged. If you're wealthy and connected, you can buy the best lawyers, bend the laws, and walk away from crimes that would put an ordinary person behind bars for life. If you're poor, you don't stand a chance. You'll be stuck with an overworked public defender and a legal system designed to push you into a plea deal just to clear the docket. Justice isn't blind, it peeks at your bank account before deciding how hard to hit you, and yet, people keep believing that if they just work harder, stay honest, and keep grinding, they'll eventually make it. That's the greatest trick of all. The system doesn't need to physically chain you. It just convinces you to chain yourself with false hope. It keeps you running on the treadmill, chasing dreams you'll never catch, while the few at the top watch from their penthouses, sipping champagne, and laughing at how easy it is to keep the game rigged in their favor. Work hard, stay poor. That's the motto they don't print on the money but live by when it comes to ordinary people. You're told from the beginning that hard work is the ticket to success, that if you put in enough hours, sweat, and determination, you'll climb out of struggle and into prosperity. It's the oldest story in the book, the one that keeps people dragging themselves out of bed before sunrise, commuting for hours, punching clocks, and giving the best years of their lives to companies that don't even remember their names when they're gone. The ugly truth is that hard work by itself doesn't make you rich. It makes someone else rich while you're left with just enough scraps to keep you believing it'll all pay off someday. Look around. The hardest working people in society are rarely the wealthiest. Who works harder than a construction worker in the blazing sun, a nurse pulling 12-hour shifts, or a single parent juggling 2 jobs just to keep food on the table? Yet these people often live paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt, with no real chance of escaping the grind. Meanwhile, the ones sitting at the top, CEOs, hedge fund managers, corporate executives, work less physically, risk less personally, and yet collect rewards beyond imagination. That's not the result of effort. That's the result of a system designed to funnel wealth upward while convincing the people at the bottom to keep grinding. The cruel trick is the promise of advancement. You're told to put in your time and climb the ladder, but that ladder is placed in front of a wall that keeps getting taller. Inflation eats away at every dollar you earn, wages stay flat while the cost of living skyrockets, and benefits that once gave people some security, like pensions and affordable health care, are stripped away. You can work 2 or 3 jobs and still not afford a house. You can put in 50 years of labor and still retire broke, because the dream of stability is constantly moved just out of reach. They want you to believe that success is right around the corner, but the corner keeps moving, and you never catch it. Debt is another chain disguised as opportunity. They tell you to invest in your education, so you borrow tens of thousands of dollars in student loans thinking it will open doors. Then you spend decades repaying those loans with interest so high it feels like punishment for trying. You take out credit cards because your wages don't stretch far enough, then drown under fees and interest rates. Even mortgages, once a symbol of achieving the dream, now lock people into decades of financial servitude. You're not working for yourself, you're working to feed banks, corporations, and creditors who profit from every drop of sweat you give. The culture reinforces this trap. People wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, bragging about long hours as though suffering is proof of virtue. The grind never stops, they say, as if being overworked and underpaid is something to be proud of. Meanwhile, the rich celebrate financial freedom, taking vacations on private islands, investing their wealth to make more wealth, and enjoying the very freedom the working class has promised but never delivered. It's not hard work that keeps people poor. It's the illusion that hard work alone is enough. And so, generation after generation, people sacrifice their health, their time, and their dreams, all in the name of chasing a reward they'll likely never see. By the time they realize the truth, it's often too late. Their bodies are worn out, their savings are gone, and their lives have been spent fueling a machine that was never built for them to win. The scam works because it feels noble, because it feels like effort should equal reward. But in reality, effort is just the fuel, and the engine it powers only drives wealth into the hands of those who never had to work hard for it in the first place. Consumerism as chains is the most brilliant trick of the so-called dream. because it convinces people to celebrate their own captivity. Instead of shackles made of iron, the chains are made of shiny products, designer labels, big houses, and flashy cars. You're told that freedom means being able to buy whatever you want, that success is measured by the size of your TV, the brand of your shoes, or the square footage of your home. But real freedom isn't about piling up possessions. Real freedom is about time, choice, and peace of mind. Yet those are exactly the things consumer culture robs you of while selling you the lie that you're free. From the moment you can comprehend language, you're targeted by advertising, commercials, billboards, apps, influencers all screaming at you to want more, to need more, to define yourself by what you own. Kids grow up believing happiness comes in the form of the latest toy, the newest gadget, the trendiest clothes. Adults chase after luxury brands, shiny cars, and homes they can't afford because society tells them it's the measure of success. You're not just a person anymore, you're a consumer, a walking wallet, a target market with a credit score attached. They don't want you to feel complete, because if you ever felt complete, you'd stop buying. So they keep you hungry, restless, always chasing the next upgrade. The dream whispers, if you work hard enough, you can have it all, but having it all comes at a price. And that price is usually a lifetime of debt and stress. Credit cards, loans, mortgages, tools sold as opportunities but designed as shackles. You borrow to buy, and then you spend decades paying back money you never really had in the first place. The cycle ensures that you're always working, not to live, but to service the debt you created, chasing the illusion of status. And every time you think you're caught up, there's a new phone, a new car, a new lifestyle trend waiting to pull you back in. Even worse, consumerism thrives on comparison. You're not buying things for yourself. You're buying them to prove to others that you matter, that you're keeping up, that you belong. The car isn't just transportation, it's proof you've made it. The house isn't just shelter, it's a symbol to your neighbors. The clothes aren't just fabric, they're statements of status. And yet, deep down, you know none of it fills the emptiness. You buy, you show off, you get a temporary high, and then you're right back to feeling unfulfilled. That emptiness is intentional. It keeps you coming back for more, like an addict who can never get enough of a drug that never really satisfies. Corporations exploit this cycle mercilessly. They build planned obsolescence into their products so that what you buy today will break, wear out, or become outdated tomorrow. They make sure your phone can't hold a charge after 2 years, that your appliances mysteriously stop working, that the latest model always makes yours look old, not because it's necessary, but because it keeps the machine running. And while you're running to keep up with the newest release, the people at the top profit endlessly from your exhaustion. The cruelest part is how consumerism disguises itself as freedom. You feel powerful swiping a card, driving a new car, upgrading to the latest device. You think you're choosing, but the choices were planted in your mind long before you made them. The ads told you what to want, society told you what to value, and now you're trapped in a cycle that looks like choice but is really control. You don't own your possessions, they own you. You spend your life maintaining them, insuring them, repairing them, and protecting them, all while working harder to afford the next round. The dream promised liberation, but all it delivered was a prettier kind of cage. The lie of equality is one of the most poisonous parts of the so-called American dream, because it convinces people that the race of life starts on the same line for everyone, when in reality, some are born already halfway down the track while others are stuck at the starting block with weights tied to their legs. The story goes that everyone has the same chance, that anyone, regardless of where they come from, can make it if they just try hard enough. It's a comforting myth because it erases the messy reality of privilege, systemic bias, and inherited advantage. It tells the poor that their struggles are their fault, that if they fail, it's because they didn't hustle hard enough, when the truth is the system was never designed to let them succeed in the first place. From birth, inequality carves out the path people will walk. A child born into wealth inherits not just money, but stability, networks, and safety nets. They have access to better schools, better healthcare, safer neighborhoods, and endless opportunities to develop skills and confidence. They don't have to worry about whether the lights will stay on, whether the rent will be paid, or whether they can afford college. Meanwhile, a child born into poverty enters a world where survival itself is a daily battle. They go to schools underfunded and overcrowded, where teachers are stretched thin and resources are scarce. They grow up in environments where crime is higher, stress is constant, and opportunities are scarce. By the time both children reach adulthood, one is equipped with a running start while the other is already exhausted from trying to catch up. Yet society tells them both they had an equal shot. Race, class, and gender only deepen these divides. Pretending the playing field is level ignores the reality of systemic discrimination. A resume with a certain last name is more likely to get tossed aside. A woman can work just as hard as a man and still earn less for the same job. Communities of color face barriers to housing, healthcare, and employment that wealthier, whiter neighborhoods rarely encounter. To act like everyone's shot at the dream is the same as to ignore the very real obstacles that weigh down millions of people every day. Equality isn't just about giving people the same starting line, it's about acknowledging the walls and hurdles that some have to scale just to stand on the same ground. The illusion of equality is maintained through culture and propaganda. Movies, Commercials and political speeches all repeat the same message: anyone can make it. They parade around the rare success stories, the athlete who escaped poverty, the entrepreneur who started in a garage and built an empire as proof that the system works. These stories become symbols, but they are exceptions, not the rule. For every rags to riches tale, there are millions stuck in cycles of poverty that no amount of hard work can break. But the myth is powerful because it keeps people blaming themselves instead of questioning the system. If you believe the game is fair, then your failures must be your fault. That belief is the glue that holds the whole scam together. Even when people do rise up, the system has ways of pulling them back down. Higher education, once a supposed equalizer, is now a debt trap. Healthcare costs can wipe out a lifetime of savings. Housing is inflated beyond reach. And for those who manage to move into wealthier spaces, the rules shift again, keeping them just one crisis away from falling back down. True equality would mean access to opportunity without invisible chains attached, but what we have instead is a carefully constructed lie that sells hope to the masses while protecting privilege for the few. Entertainment as distraction is the finishing touch on the scam, the sugar coating on the bitter pill, the thing that keeps people too busy, too distracted, and too entertained to realize they're being played from every angle. If you want to keep a society under control, you don't need to build walls or prisons for everyone. You just need to keep them glued to screens, drowning in noise, and obsessed with nonsense that doesn't matter. People will police themselves as long as you give them enough channels, apps, games, and gossip to consume. That's the brilliance of the system. It doesn't just control through laws and money, it controls through attention. If your mind is constantly flooded with distractions, when do you have time to think about how badly you're being ripped off? Turn on the television, scroll through your phone, or walk into a stadium, and you'll see how perfectly this machine works. Sports are one of the most effective tools of distraction. People scream at the top of their lungs about teams, players, and scores, as if the outcome of a game will change their lives. They memorize statistics of athletes who earn millions, while barely keeping track of the politicians and corporations deciding their futures. It's not that entertainment itself is bad, it's that it becomes a substitute for real engagement with the world. People can recite every lyric of a pop star's new song, but they can't explain where their tax money goes. They'll fight over which superhero is strongest, but they won't question why their healthcare costs more than their rent. The entertainment industry is built to keep people sedated. Reality shows, celebrity gossip, endless streaming services, they don't exist just to amuse, they exist to distract. The more you consume, the less you question. The system doesn't care what you're watching as long as you're not paying attention to them. They want you debating who should win an award show instead of debating why billionaires pay a lower tax rate than the people serving their meals. They want you focused on the latest viral trend instead of the fact that your wages haven't risen in decades while the cost of living skyrockets. The trick is to make the noise constant so silence never gives you a chance to wake up. Social media took this distraction to a new level. Now people aren't just entertained, they're addicted. Every like, every notification, every scroll is engineered to keep attention hooked. People become obsessed with presenting curated versions of their lives, chasing validation from strangers, and drowning in endless feeds of recycled nonsense. Meanwhile, the system keeps grinding unnoticed: surveillance, inequality, corruption. None of it matters as long as you're too busy staring at a screen, laughing at memes, or arguing in comment sections about things that mean nothing. Attention has become the most valuable currency, and the system has mastered how to steal it. Even politics has turned into entertainment. Elections are staged like reality TV, with debates treated as performance rather than serious discussions about people's futures. Politicians are cast like characters in a drama, and news outlets sell conflict like episodes of a soap opera. The public is encouraged to pick sides, cheer for their team, and boo the other, just like a sporting event. The illusion of choice is amplified by the spectacle, while the real decisions, the ones about war, money, and power, are made quietly behind the curtain. People are entertained by the circus, and that's exactly the point. All of this keeps people docile. As long as they're entertained, they don't revolt. As long as their screens are lit up, they don't ask dangerous questions. Bread and circuses worked in ancient Rome, and the same principle works today, only now the circus fits in your pocket and streams 24/7. The scam isn't just about money, work, or status, it's about attention. Whoever controls your attention controls your reality, and the system has perfected the art of distraction. It doesn't need you to love it, it just needs you to stay too busy to notice you're trapped. So after peeling back every layer, what you really see is that the so-called American dream is nothing more than a beautifully packaged scam. It starts with the illusion of freedom, telling you that you're in control while every option you're given is carefully pre-approved. Then it throws you into a system that's rigged from the ground up, where the rich play with loaded dice and the poor are told to just roll harder. It convinces you that working yourself into the grave is the path to prosperity, even though the only thing hard work guarantees is exhaustion. It chains you with consumerism, tricking you into thinking that buying more makes you free, when in reality you're just decorating your own cage. It lies to you about equality, pretending everyone has the same chance while ignoring the invisible walls that keep most people stuck. And to top it all off, it keeps you distracted with endless entertainment so you don't notice the walls closing in around you. That's the scam, not one single broken part, but an entire machine running exactly the way it was designed to keep people believing in a dream while living in a nightmare that benefits only the few at the top. Good luck out there, because seeing the truth isn't easy, and living with it is even harder. But awareness is the first step to freedom. Don't just settle for the dream they sell you. Go after the reality they don't want you to see. Thank you for listening, and may you find the courage to break through the scam and live on your own terms.